Congratulations, you've just found the number one over 50 health and wellness podcast on the planet. Hello and welcome to the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert and the founder of The Silver Edge, and I am on a mission to help men and women just like you build lean, strong, healthy, amazing, capable bodies that they love for the rest of their lives. All right, folks, if you're over 50 and you're busy and you're tired and you're wondering how you're supposed to get fit without quitting your job and neglecting your family or basically moving into the gym, then this episode's for you. And here's what I know. Here's what I know about you who have tuned into a podcast titled The Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated, and you're definitely not, quote unquote, bad at fitness. You're just overloaded. Look, work is demanding. Life is full. Sleep isn't what it used to be. And somehow every fitness plan you see assumes you've got unlimited energy and unlimited time and the recovery abilities of a 25-year-old. Spoiler alert, you don't. And that's not a flaw, it's just reality. Most people over 50 aren't failing because they don't care. They're failing because they're trying to follow fitness advice that was never designed for their life. 6 days a week in the gym, 2-a-day workouts, just add more cardio? No thanks. That makes me tired just reading that. Here's the good news. You don't need more workouts. You don't need longer workouts. And you definitely don't need to live in the gym to get results after 50. What you do need is a smarter approach, one that respects your time, your energy, and your recovery. So in this episode, I want to show you how to get stronger and leaner and more energized, even if your schedule is packed and your motivation isn't always firing on all cylinders, because fitness after 50 should not drain your life. It should support it. So that's what we're talking about today. Whip up your protein smoothies and let's jump in. All right, folks, one of the biggest myths in fitness, especially for those of us over 50, is this idea that more time in the gym automatically equals better results. And it sounds logical, right? If some exercise is good, more must be better. If 3 workouts help, wouldn't 6 be like amazing? Except that's not how the body works anymore. When you're younger, you can get away with volume. You can recover faster. You can beat yourself up and you can bounce right back. But after 50, time and recovery become limiting factors, not effort. So here's what I see all the time. Busy, motivated people squeezing in long workouts or too many sessions or way too much cardio, and then they wonder why they feel exhausted and sore and stalled, and they're not getting the results that they're hoping for. And it's not because they're doing nothing, it's because they're doing too much of the wrong thing for their current capacity. More gym time doesn't automatically mean more muscles or more fat loss or more energy. In fact, for a lot of people over 50, it means the opposite. Because when recovery can't keep up, the body's going to shift into protection mode. Your energy's actually going to drop. Your cravings will increase, your fat loss will slow, and your motivation is going to tank. And then people start playing the blame game. They think, I just need to try harder. I need more discipline. I just need to push through. No, you need a better strategy, because fitness after 50 isn't a time problem. It's more, think of it this way, it's an energy management problem. And once you understand that, you stop chasing the hours in the gym and you start chasing results that actually fit your life. So let's talk about what busy and tired really means. So when someone says, I'm just busy and tired, it's easy to brush that off. But busy and tired isn't a personality trait. It's a set of very real circumstances. And for most of us over 50, it means this. You sit more than you used to. Not because you want to, but because work and screens and modern life, just demand that. So you carry more mental load. We've got careers, we've got families, we've got aging parents, we've got finances, we got responsibilities that don't clock out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And maybe your sleep isn't as deep or consistent as it once was. You might fall asleep fine, but staying asleep, maybe that's another story. And on top of all that, you're carrying the memory of a body that used to work differently. So you remember back when you could skip workouts and bounce right back. You could tighten things up for a few weeks and drop a few pounds. You could eat less and you could see quick results. So when all that stops working, it's frustrating. And here's the key point I think a bunch of us miss. Busy and tired doesn't mean that you need more intensity. It means that you need better alignment. Your body isn't asking for punishment. It's not craving more punishment. What it wants is some support. It wants support in how you train, support in how you eat, support in how you recover. The problem isn't typically that you don't care enough, especially those of you that are tuning into this podcast. It's that most fitness advice ignores the realities of life after 50, and then it makes you feel like the problem when it doesn't work. Chances are you're not failing the plan, but the plan is failing you. So I want to talk about the minimum effective dose framework when it comes to working out, because this is where we flip the script. Because getting fit after 50 isn't about doing the most, it's about doing what works consistently. And this is where the concept of minimum effective dose comes in. The minimum effective dose is the least amount of work needed to produce the maximum return. So note that this is not the hardest plan, it's not the easiest plan, it's not the sexiest or flashiest plan, and it's definitely not the one that's going to leave you crawling out of the gym wondering why you ever signed up. For most busy, tired adults over 50, the minimum effective dose might look something like this. Strength training 3 days a week. You guys, especially you OG listeners, you know I love this formula of 3 days of professionally designed full body functional workouts, strength training workouts every single week. Just 3, not 6, not 7, not every day just to be safe, but 3 high quality strength sessions that train the whole body, that focus on big functional movements and progress slowly and gradually over time. This sends the strongest possible signal to your body that says, hey, muscle still matters. Let's build some and let's keep some. And remember, muscle is the foundation for your metabolism and your strength and your joint health and your long-term independence. Number 2, after strength training, is daily restorative movement. I'm not talking about cardio marathons, but think of it this way. Movement is non-negotiable. Punishment is optional. And what this means is I want you guys to be walking and doing light activity, maybe riding your bike or going for a swim. Get out of the chair a little more often, not just totally wreck and destroy yourself on the treadmill or the rowing machine, but rather think of movement as circulation and recovery and restorative movement. Don't think of it in terms of calorie burning, right? Number 3, recovery is part of your plan. Look, you're over 50, and a lot of people miss this. Recovery is critical for you building and maintaining muscle. I'm talking things like sleep and stress management and rest days, and these are not signs of weakness. They're how your body actually adapts. You don't get stronger in the gym. You get stronger because of what happens after the gym. And this framework works because it respects reality. It fits into busy lives, it survives imperfect weeks, and it doesn't require some kind of superhero motivation. And remember that consistency beats intensity every single time, especially for those of us over 50. Now, once you strip away all the hype and the fads and the guilt-driven fitness advice, what's left is pretty surprisingly simple. There are a few things that actually move the needle after 50 and a whole lot of things that just make you tired. So let's shift our focus to what really works. First up, strength training beats cardio marathons. Look, I love cardio. I do cardio. Those of you that have rip-roaring metabolisms, throw in some cardio. But just remember, cardio has its place, but it is not the driver of long-term results after 50. Strength training is, because strength training is going to preserve muscle. It's going to improve metabolism. It's going to protect your joints. It's going to help you manage your hunger. Think of it this way. Cardio burns calories once. It burns calories while you do it. Strength training builds muscle, which just raises the baseline. It just increases the calorie burning furnace in your body 24/7. If time is limited, and look, it is, strength training is going to win every single time. Number 2, protein and fuel matter now more than ever. Under eating might feel productive. It might feel like you're getting results until your energy crashes and your progress stalls, which it 100% will. After 50, your body needs enough protein to maintain muscle, enough fuel to recover, and consistency more than perfection. You don't need any complicated nutrition rules. You just need adequacy. A body running on fumes is not going to get lean. It's going to get defensive. Number 3, sleep and stress are force multipliers. You can train perfectly and you can eat wonderfully, but if you're chronically underslept and stressed out of your mind, your results are going to be slow, in fact, perhaps non-existent. Look, sleep is not laziness. It's recovery. Stress management isn't soft. It's strategic. A regulated nervous system burns fat and builds muscle way better than a fried one. And number 4, remember that your progress happens outside the gym. This is a big reframe. The gym is where you stimulate change. Life is where you adapt to it. If your plan only works when life is calm and perfect, then it's not a very good plan. The needle moves when training, nutrition, and lifestyle all work together synergistically, not when one is cranked to the extreme. So after 50, the goal isn't necessarily to do more, it's to do enough of the right things consistently. And this reminds me of a client that I had a long time ago. He was a physician, emergency room physician. I believe he worked a rotating schedule. So sometimes he was on nights, sometimes not. And he was in a large metropolis area. So, he was like a trauma surgeon in an emergency room. And this guy came into the program. I guess he had a bit of a dad bod. And he just couldn't understand why he couldn't lose that last 10, 15, 20 pounds, whatever it was. Well, here's the deal. Not only was this guy, of course, he had crazy sleep schedule because of his work, but he was the classic, if I just do more, I'll get the results. If I just have more motivation, more grit, more determination. And look, he had grit and determination and willpower. That wasn't his problem. This dude was going to a CrossFit-like sort of boot camp class like every morning at 5 a.m. and just trashing himself for an hour. And then, of course, he would either go home and sleep because he just got off work, or he would go and, patch up bullet wounds and heart attack victims and things like that. So what we did with this guy, first things first, was he was under eating. We had him eat a little bit more food, but I said, hey man, any chance you'd give up that 5 a.m. class? And he was like, I guess I could, but that's, to him, that was not just his workout and stress relief, but it was also a community, right? He's like, hey, I like these guys in here. I was like, yeah, I get it. Not forever, but for now, could we just completely stop doing that? And we went to 3 days a week of full body strength training. His cardio at that point was walking. That's it. Just walk. I don't want you to jump around. I don't want you doing burpees. Nothing for time. Just for now, bear with me. Trust the process. Do this. You guys probably see where this is going. Yeah, he got phenomenal results very quickly in the first 60, 90 days, because what happened was his body just got out of that nonstop fight or flight sympathetic nervous system and started to calm down. He was doing way too much and he was not getting the results he wanted. He was burnt out. He had completely stalled in his fat loss initiatives. And it wasn't until he slowed down and did what we talked about in last week's podcast, where we talked about the 3 phases, the 90 days of resetting your metabolism. It's basically what we did with that dude in the first 90 days. And it was miraculous the way he looked and felt after that. So during the time that we worked together, this guy went to fewer workouts, considerably fewer workouts. He had more energy, better results, looked better, felt better, all that fun stuff. All right, so let's just switch our focus here. I want to talk about some common traps that busy people fall into, because here at the Silver Edge, we see this all the time, right? We coach men and women in their 50s, 60s, some of them in their 70s, and most of them are super, super busy, right? And when people are busy and tired, they don't make bad decisions. They make understandable ones. But a few common traps quietly sabotage their progress. So I want to share a few of these with you. Let's call these out. Trap number 1, and this is the big one, guys. It's the all or nothing mindset. Now, I know a bunch of you can relate to this because even I feel this, right? And I feel like this is so sneaky. If the workout isn't perfect, it doesn't count. If the week wasn't ideal, it's a wash. If life gets busy, everything stops. And suddenly, one missed session turns into a missed week that rolls into a missed month. Progress doesn't disappear because you miss a workout. It disappears because you stop resuming. Okay, so that's first up. That's that all or nothing kind of mindset. Trap number 2 is waiting for life to slow down. We hear this all the time, especially as we have people considering coming into our coaching program. I'll very often hear, well, now's just not a good time because fill in the blank, right? I've got a sick parent I'm caring for. My adult kids are acting crazy. Or job is doing something. So we hear, I'll get serious when work calms down or after this busy season or once things settle. Again, fill in the blank. But look, let me give you some hard truth with love. Life doesn't slow down. Fitness plans that only work in calm seasons aren't very good fitness plans, right? They're not going to work at all. So our goal here isn't perfection. It's resilience. Trap number 3 is using exhaustion as proof of effectiveness. Now, this comes more like the guy I was telling you about, my emergency room physician. This comes from those overdoers, overachievers very, very often, right? If it didn't leave you drenched in sweat and barely able to walk, did it even count? Yeah, it counted. Exhaustion is not a requirement for progress. In fact, when taken to extremes, it's the exact opposite of progress, especially for those of us over 50. So if you're constantly wiped out, your plan is asking too much. Trap number 4, treating cardio like a catch-all solution. So a lot of our new clients come to us and because they've been taught, right, the way to lose weight is to just eat less and to move more. And usually that means some form of cardio. Either it's a class or a treadmill or running, something like that. And busy people default to cardio because it feels efficient. But more cardio is not going to fix low energy or muscle loss or slowed metabolism. In fact, it's probably going to make them worse. Trap number 5 is the trying to do it yourself everything. So it's this DIY mentality. And this one is quiet, but it's costly. When you're doing this alone, it's hard to know if you're doing enough or too much, or maybe the wrong things entirely. And without feedback, people usually default back to their familiar habits. And even if those are the habits that got them where they are now, which is probably stuck. So look, these traps aren't some sort of moral failures. They're what happen when good people try to force fitness into a life that's already full. So the fix isn't more discipline, but it's a plan that fits your reality. So let's just pause here. Let's take a breath for a second. Without any guilt, without any judgment, just honestly, like we did last week, I want you guys to ask yourself a couple of questions here. Ask yourself this: does your current fitness plan actually fit your life? Or does it only work on your best weeks? When work gets busy, when travel pops up, or when life throws a curveball, do you know exactly how to adjust, or does everything have a tendency to just fall apart? Are you training to build strength and capacity, or are you just trying to burn calories and feel productive? Do your workouts leave you feeling better and more energized and aligned, or do they leave you feeling drained and behind and lost? And my final question for you here is, if you followed your current plan for the next 90 days exactly as written, would it make you stronger, healthier, and more confident, or just more tired? Now look, there is no wrong answers. But again, clarity matters, because the goal isn't to do more. It's to do what actually works and keeps working in real life. So once you stop trying to force fitness into your schedule and you start building it around your life, everything changes. So here's the reframe here. I want you to think of fitness as your support system. Fitness isn't supposed to be another source of stress in your life. I get it. It is for a lot of you. But fitness is not punishment for what you ate. It's not something you have to make up for. It's definitely not a test of how tough or how disciplined you are. Fitness is supposed to support your life, not compete with it. And after 50, the goal isn't to see how much you can endure. The goal is to build more energy for your day, to have more resilience to stress, more confidence in your body, and more capacity to do the things that you love to do. And when fitness is working, it gives you back time and energy. It makes you into the best version of yourself. It makes busy days easier. It makes stress more manageable. It makes you feel capable again. And the moment you stop viewing fitness as something you have to squeeze in or suffer through, and start seeing it as a system that supports your life, that guilt disappears. Consistency improves. Progress becomes sustainable. Fitness stops being another obligation, and it starts becoming one of the things that helps you show up better everywhere else in your life. And that is the shift that makes everything else possible. So here's what I want you to remember from this episode. You don't need more time. Is that even a thing? I hear people all the time, they wish they had more time. There is no such thing as more time. You don't need more workouts. You don't need to live in the gym to get fit after 50. But you do need a plan that respects your schedule, your energy, your recovery, and your real life, and where you are right now, your starting point. Getting stronger and leaner and healthier at this stage of life is about doing less better. And when fitness starts supporting your life instead of draining it, everything gets easier. So If you are listening and you're thinking, okay, yeah, that feels doable. I like that. This is not an accident. And if you want help turning this into a simple, realistic plan for your life, that's exactly why I'm offering free clarity calls. This is a no pressure conversation where we're going to look at where you are right now, talk through what's holding you back, where you feel stuck, and we're going to map out a smart, sustainable path forward that works for your actual life. No crazy sales pitch, no guilt, just clarity. So if that sounds helpful to you, you can book your free clarity call using a link. You guys can find that in the show notes on whatever app you're listening to this on, because fitness after 50 should not feel like another job. It should make the rest of your life feel better. And that, my friend, is a goal worth pursuing. Okay, that's our show for today, folks. If you are over 50 and you feel frustrated or stuck and you want a clear plan, book a free clarity call with me. You can find a link to learn more in the show notes for this episode. You guys can find that on whatever app you're listening to this show on, or head over to silveredgefitness.com/408. As we wrap up our time together today, you can show your support for this show in two important ways. The first is to tell a friend about this podcast and encourage them to give it a listen. The second is for you YouTube folks to click the like and subscribe buttons, and for you podcast folks to please give this podcast a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, and be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today, and until next time, stay strong.